So let's take a step back. So you were in the military for about 4 years before you did your first tour.
Correct.
Can you take us through like what was it like the first time you are in battle? So you've been trained for 4 years. It's all training, but now you have real danger.
Yeah, the very first engagement that I had that I talk about is we were on a route in Ramadi, all right, and this route's called Route Nuggets, and we were driving down Route Nuggets, and, and these poor insurgents had no clue what they were doing, and we were all in our Humvees. Our Humvees were not up armored at the time, and so their bullets would pierce right through our Humvee, no problem.
Okay.
And we're driving down this route called Route Nuggets, and they are on either side of the road firing up at us. So they're in their own crossfire, shooting at us from both sides. RPGs are going off, and the very first thought that goes into my head is, these guys are idiots, you know. And then training kicks in, right? Like you have that initial thought, you know, and and training kicks in, and obviously our flaps were open on our windows, and I just start laying down fire with my M4. So when you get into a situation like that, uh, when you get into uh, ambush, the first rule of engagement is to break contact as soon as you can, right? And so that's exactly what we did. We went through, we broke contact, kind of regrouped, and so I went from that and straight into a room clearing procedure, and it was the first room clearing procedure I'd ever done, and
So
I'd
so
never
you
been trained on.
so you're out of the Humvee and you're in a building. When you say room clearing,
So
yeah. So
so
help
we're
me understand.
yeah, so we're driving down this road. We go basically through this funnel of fire, right? They're shooting at us from both sides, and we drive about 100 meters around a curve to on this road, on this Trout Nuggets. And so we stop, we regroup, we talk about a little bit about what happened over the radio. I mean, our 50 gunners are up on top of the Humvee scanning and everything like that. Talk about what's happening, and a guy comes up to one of our Humvees and says something to our interpreter, and our interpreter said there's two of them in this building over here. And
Okay.
so we're like, okay, well, let's go clear out the building. Let's go get them out of there. And so and it's a water plant because we're right next to a river that feeds into the Euphrates. And so me and three other guys go and clear this room, and it was that was my first experience at real combat.
That's
And
intense.
I yeah, and I never uh, you never know how you're going to react in those situations. You got your guys that are like, oh man, I can't wait to go and do this and do that to bad guys, and you know, and I was one of them, right? Like, yeah, man, I can't wait to go and use this training and engage the enemy and this and that.
Yeah, in your mind,
But
you're the GI Joe. You're about my age, so I play with GI
that's
Joes. You're like, yeah, I'd be able to do this, but when you got actual bullets flying,
it's different.
it's a
It hits
difference.
completely different. Yeah.
Yeah,
And so it's kind of the whole you're forged in fire, right? Like that was my being forged at that point in time. And we go into this room, and there's two guys in there, and I'm the number one man, what they would call the number one man. We wouldn't have even known what that was at that point in time. Well, we did, but we just weren't trained in it.
hmm
And I go in there, and he literally comes
number
running
one
at.
man means you're the first to go in.
I'm the first one in the building.
Okay.
And I go into the building, and sure enough, a guy's standing there, and he turns around and he comes running at me. I don't know why he came running at me. And so I flipped my M4 around. I knew I wasn't going to kill him at that point in time. You're always looking right around the hips. You want to see their hands. You want to make sure that they don't have any kind of weapon on them. He didn't have a weapon on him. Flipped my M4 around, and hit him right in the head as hard as I could. And but you know, not knowing what I was doing, when I came into the room, there was a guy standing behind me with a knife, and that's where my number two man, I'm not going to say his name, but he ended up hitting him and knocking him out as well. And we were able to detain those two guys. And so it was an eye opening moment, but I was more mad than I was scared or anything.
So
I was angry.
this is hand to hand combat that you're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean,
So I don't like to call it hand to hand combat because it is not. It's not. It's not what you think of when you think of hand to hand combat, where these guys are actually having to pull out their boot knives and go toe to toe with some guys. I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine having to go through something like that. You hear some of these MACV guys over in Vietnam, some of the stories that they have, and it was nothing like that. Uh, and so even though it was very hands on, I wouldn't call it hand to hand combat because at no point in time during that engagement was I fearful of my life. Right? You get into a knife to knife with somebody, and somewhere in there you got to think to yourself, what if I slip? You
but
know,
when you say you're hitting, you're hitting them. Okay,
hitting them with
it
the butt
just
of my rifle.
to me it's
I broke my rifle.
really okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, so to me, you know, when I think a lot of this, at least in my mind, and some of the YouTube videos that I've been able to see, it's like, you know, they're shooting from afar, but you're in a building in the same room and trying to make all the right decisions, when to use your weapon, when to not use your weapon. That is
Right.
just, it's something that someone like me, I couldn't even imagine. I couldn't even imagine.